Back in with you on this Tuesday edition. Let me live on KOWB rolls on, and it is my pleasure to welcome in. He's a candidate for City Council in Ward 1. Tim Nichols joins me in studio. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me in today.
I appreciate the time this morning. You recently declared your candidacy going back here about 2 weeks ago now here for City Council. So I'll start with the obvious question that everybody wants to know: why? Why did you decide to run for City Council this time around?
Absolutely. You know, that seems to be the #1 question I get asked most often. And every time I answer it, it seems to change just a little bit, kind of as things develop and you get more invested in it. The meaning becomes more relevant. And this last week, it really struck home. Is the reason why I'm running for City Council. I'll tell you. My wife went to donate a couple cases of water, down to the fire trailer over in West Laramie, and on the side of it, it said "Neighbors helping neighbors," and that just kind of rang in my head over and over. Neighbors helping neighbors. Okay. That means something. And the reason I'm running for City Council, it became very apparent, is neighbors helping neighbors is what Laramie's about, and it became very obvious to everybody with what just happened. And neighbors helping neighbors is what I want to make sure keeps and stays in Laramie, and I want to make sure the Laramie stands for that into the future.
Now, give us a little background, because you're not necessarily originally from here, but you've been here a little bit since 2010, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why did you decide to come to Laramie? What kind of brought you here?
Well, I mean, to the Gym City, exactly. What I came here for, and what I think a lot of current Laramie citizens came for originally, was an education. We come to the university seeking an education, and what we find here ends up being so much more than that. I found a home, I found a wife and a career, all here in Laramie. So why not stick around?
You've served on the Joint Powers Board with the Laramie Plains Civic Center, and tried to make that a place where Laramie residents could enjoy what goes on there as well as benefit from it. What type of experience have you kind of learned from that you feel maybe you can apply and then obviously have to adapt it if elected with the Laramie City
absolutely.
Council?
You learn a lot in public service, period. And I like to think that's what I do every day. I help manage the transit system, which is a form of public service. And the Laramie Civic Center Joint Powers Board is just another facet of that. And what I've learned over this whole experience I've had here in the last, since I've been here, has been the ability to listen to the citizens and make sure you judge your decisions based off of their interests, not your own, but making sure that you represent someone in a meaning more than just yourself.
You're running for Ward 1, that's where you live in, so obviously that's kind of West Laramie. What are some of the big topics that you talk with your neighbors about in Ward 1?
Sure, I mean, obviously the big heavy hitter for West Laramie, the #1 is going to be your infrastructure, your streets and the dirt roads and kind of the lack of the pavement there, so to speak. And that is by far the #1 heavy hitter, I would say. That would be the #1.
Where does the conversation take you in that regard? Because we do our Mondays with the Mayor series with Mayor Somerville, and I've had conversations with a few other city councilors before in terms of that's going to be a big focus if they get the 6-penny tax renewed in August with the election on August 21st. They're basically going to dedicate a vast majority of that funds to try and deal with street maintenance and repairs, because let's face it, we're not necessarily a quote-unquote rich city. I mean, the budget's pretty lean. So where does the conversation take you when it comes to streets in West Laramie? Is it all about the paving, or are there other facets to it, I guess?
Well, absolutely. I mean, obviously the pavement's just one thing. I mean, you've got the drainage, the curb, and there's a lot more to it, and ultimately that infrastructure in West Laramie is just a hair on the lean side itself. But what it all comes down to at the end of the day is money, is revenue. Like you said, we run on a lean budget, so obviously that 6-penny tax is going to go focus a lot of it into that channel. And what we can focus on right now to make sure that gets done or remains a priority is the generation of revenue.
So how do you go about generating that revenue?
That is the number one question. I mean, that we have to collaborate together to figure out a plan. I don't think any one person should come in saying that they have the plan, but who has the plan is the citizens of Laramie and the people who represent them. You know, all around us, we need to collaborate together to figure out what we need to do. Obviously, if revenue generation needs to happen, let's figure out what do we need to do. How do we help stimulate that economy?
Well, what's the conversation been like for you over the years? I mean, obviously you've been here for a little bit now. You're running for city council. So in talking with neighbors, what would be a way to generate revenue? Do you feel for the city?
So I mean, a big part of what I'm running on specifically, what I keep hearing is economic development.
Okay.
So to speak. I mean, you know, one kind of falls with the other, but economic development hits pretty hard home. I mean, with jobs. I mean, you have Laramie that offers a lot of jobs. Some more part time, some full time, and obviously you have your main employers around town. But what my focus or what I gravitate towards would be the need for more full time, fully benefited jobs with competitive salaries.
Okay.
You start putting more money back in the citizens' pockets, you're going to start moving around that money more. You're going to see more money spent in Laramie for Laramie.
Okay. So how do we go about doing that then? I mean, what areas do you feel like Laramie can best benefit in terms of maybe sectors to entice more companies to come here?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the question. I mean, I've noticed for a while there's been a big tech push. You know, we want to be a digital hub, so to speak.
Okay.
And I think that's a great area to further our economic development in, and there's a lot of it going on right now. But I think in some instances it could be too specific. Let's broaden that a little bit. Let's talk about manufacturing. Let's talk about some agriculture. I mean, we've got all these kind of potential sectors around us that we could help stimulate or help push or provide incentive to create more full-time, fully benefited jobs with competitive salaries.
Okay, all right. We're talking with Tim Nichols. He's running for city council coming up in Ward 1. You've got a run in the primary coming up on August 21st, and then hopefully get as one of the top candidates to go on for the November ballot. Is that a little cumbersome having to have that two-step process for a candidate?
I think it's great. I honestly do. I mean, you're filtering out who the citizens believe can represent them the best. And all of us, looking at all of us candidates there, bring something to the table. So I think at the end of this run, the city's going to be better off no matter what.
Okay, all right. I know there are some citizens that some are very supportive of the council, some are, I guess, maybe kind of right down the middle of the road, and then others are very critical of the council. What have you seen here in your time in Laramie in terms of just some of the decisions that have been made? Obviously, I know it's affected your thought process in terms of deciding to run here, but where do you feel Laramie's at? Kind of what shape are we in right now?
Well, really, we're in good shape. I mean, we are sustaining. We are maintaining, should I say? I think there are a lot of ways we can develop to make us thrive. I mean, there's no reason we can't be the gem city. Let's push it that step further and let's do it together. To kind of refer back to your question, the citizens agree or disagree with the council. I mean, that's a council member's job, is to represent their citizens. Not always are you going to have positive feedback. You're not going to please everybody, but listening is key. I mean, you listen to your citizens and you get out there and talk to them, find out what the real concerns are, and I think that will point you in the right direction. Obviously,
infrastructure is big for West Laramie. Absolutely. I've had the conversation with the mayor about this in terms of, and she's actually out in Ward 1 where you're running here. One of those things is, and I've brought this up before with her, is it's a little cheaper to live on the west side. Sure. I think some of that has to do with maybe, unfortunately, a little lack of infrastructure, but that also leads to maybe less in property taxes. And would that be something that you would consider if elected? looking at if we raise property taxes to generate some more revenue to help with the infrastructure and paving. I mean, raising taxes, and that's not a popular subject with a lot of people. No, none of us want taxes raised, but at the same time, is that something that West Laramie needs to look at possibly?
You know, in this current point, I would not agree with any tax raising of any kind.
Why not?
Why not? I just think we should try some other options. Right now, I feel that the Laramie citizens and where we sit just maybe a little heavy on the tax. Let's look at some other options. Let's see where we're at, and then we'll see what we have to do to make up that gap.
Okay. Are there options that you have in mind that you'd like to look at?
Not specifically. I mean that becomes a really big collaborative thing. I don't want to come into this thinking I hold all the answers. This is obviously you want to come in offering ideas, offering suggestions, but you want to make it as collaborative as possible for the citizens. If we have 30 some odd thousand citizens, there's got to be an idea there somewhere.
Okay.
Let's talk to them.
Well, and I honestly, I think that's a fair approach because you have to work with 8 other council members to get things done for the community. It's not just you and your decisions.
No, not at all.
So, all right, we're visiting again with Tim Nichols. He's running for city council, and the election just about 2 months away. In fact, I believe technically 2 months from this Tuesday. It's not date-wise, but as you look at the third Tuesday in the month of August, this being the third Tuesday in the month of June, so we're basically 2 months away.
Yep.
What do you feel like you need to do to get your message out in the next couple months? What are some of the things that you're going to be doing on the campaign trail to get yourself rolling for August 21st?
Absolutely. The biggest thing that you can do is go to your neighbors, knock on the doors, talk to them face to face.
Okay.
I've got a great support group that's helping me. They're very integrated in the community, and that's what we're going to start doing. We're going to start seeing me at your door. Don't slam it in my face, please. I honestly am just here to help. I want to listen. I want to hear. To kind of kick us off, though, and not to give too much of a plug, but this Saturday we have a coffee with the candidate session.
Okay.
It's this Saturday the 23rd, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. All I want to do is I want to hear from the citizens what their issues are. I'm not going to get up and give a big speech. This is what I'm going to do for you. I want to hear what you are concerned about and maybe your vision for Laramie.
Where is the coffee?
The coffee will be at Depot Park.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I jogging my memory here a little bit.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. So over at Depot Park next to the train depot.
Okay, so that's 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and coming out. If you're in Ward 1, this is one of your candidates. If you live in West Laramie, this is a chance for you to come on out, see Tim Nichols as well as the other candidates for City Council Ward 1. I think there's four?
4 of us total. Yeah.
4 of us, and then 2 go on to is that right? Top 2 go on to the general ballot. So, all right. So look for that. That's coming up this Saturday, June 23rd, and that's all right. I know everybody's planning to be there, as far as I know. Is that right for the city council for this coffee coming up, or is this just?
This is just me.
This is you.
This is just me. This is what my support group kind of came up with.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to do this on our own. I really wanted to get one-on-one with the citizens.
Nice.
To listen. Not to talk and preach at them, but to sit down with them. I want to talk to them. So this is completely my own. Coffee with the candidate, Tim Nichols, just me.
All right, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Saturday at Depot Park, downtown Laramie, and we wish you all the best. And again, you're running for City Council Ward 1. It'll be an interesting election.
It will be.
Midterm election. I think this is going to be interesting in August, and then coming up in November. And of course, we're going to follow it all here during Laramie Live on KOWB. Thanks so much for coming in. And
thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.